Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome to Versus Series. A member of my team, Acebreakers, faces off against a well-known up-and-coming pro player. For this week, from Acebreakers, we have Falcon facing off against Gameking from Team LuckyDraw. So, the format is best of 5 conquest. For Falcon we have Warrior, Warlock and Druid, and as usual I have the deck lists to refer to in front of me. And Gameking is bringing Hunter, Priest and Mage. So with that kept in mind, let's get on to game number 1. So first things first, we've got Warrior from Falcon up against the Hunter from Gameking. Now generally this is a favourable matchup, but what kind of decks are they bringing in this regard? Now, Falcon is playing Grim Patron Warrior. He's playing straight Patron with a few interesting techs in there, but mostly just straight Patron. And Gameking is playing a mid-rangey Hunter. Less hybrid, but very mid-rangey. So, as far as openings goes, turn 2, turn 3, Animal Companion is a very strong opening. He did get that Jungle Panther, which may be relevant later on in the game. 4-2 with Stealth is obviously very hard to deal with because it has Stealth. It's basically a Huffer but delayed. Let's see if he gets the double Leok. That'd be amusing. Worst possible for him here is probably Leok. Huffer's not too bad because it deals 5 to the face. Misha's fine as well. Okay, Huffer. So he basically gets to Fireball the face this turn. Or Kill Command, I guess, if you want to go with exact numbers. 5 for 5. Inner Rage is actually a pretty decent top deck here because it allows him to activate Acolyte of Pain without using Whirlwind. Although he may just want to use Whirlwind in general because there is an unstable ghoul there for patrons later on in the game, and a lot of this matchup is just about surviving early. So if you Whirlwind, you get to draw a card, kill the Huffer, and the Leok. So I think he is going to go for this Whirlwind. Which he does. Drawing the second Acolyte of Pain is always handy. Making sure he draws first. Frothing Berserker. Yep, that's why you always want to draw first, because you play Frothing Berserker and he gets an extra damage on this Frothing. Now, at this point, if you're playing the Hunter here, what do? I think, in this case, you have to go for Double Creeper and hope he doesn't have another Whirlwind effect, because he just played one. Now, we do know that there's an unstable ghoul, however, there aren't any other Whirlwind effects. So if he's doing this way, the question is, do you go face with this 3-4 or trade with the 3-4? Alright, he's going face with it. This does make some rudimentary sense because the Haunted Creepers can't kill the ghoul this turn. He has to use an Abusive Sergeant, and if he uses an Abusive Sergeant, then he does lose the Abusive immediately and generates a lot of damage on this Frothing and some card advantage through the Acolyte. Battle Rage, not the most useful in this situation, but still okay. Just going to go Explosive Trap and then Hero Power, try and maximize that Hero Power as much as possible. It's really necessary when it comes to Hunter against Warrior. You kind of need those Hero Powers to burst through the armor a little bit. Attack that Frothing down to 2 health so that he can't just kill you with it. Always makes sense. So this turn, I think, well, I mean, obviously it depends what he draws. We're just going to see a Thorazan though. There's Warsong Commander, Battle Rage. This is all very, very good. Absolutely hilarious to watch a 14 attack Frothing Berserker kill a 1-1, by the way. So that Thorazan is going to be very, very, very useful because there's no efficient way of dealing with this. The Eaglehorn Bow is not an efficient way of dealing with that 5-5. The question is he going to go Bow or Hero Power? I think he could go Unleash and kill it. That's a lot of damage to be using. I think he may just go Bow, attack face. Okay, so he's going for Unleash attack phase. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't see why you'd attack the Frothing Berserker here. If you're going to ignore the Thorazan, you're ignoring the Frothing. There's no reason to kill it. I think I definitely would have gone for the Eaglehorn Bow there, because this is way too open to a Whirlwind effect. And while it is possible he doesn't have one, considering... Did he miss an attack there? I think he missed an attack. Yeah, you only attacked with two dogs and 2 Hunter Creepers. That was a mistake. So, anyway, this particular Grim Patron list is only running the one Unstable Ghoul. And no Death Spites have shown up as of late. So as a result, well, I mean, he just drew one, but the point is that he doesn't have the Whirlwind effect. Trying to draw this could be critical. Gnomish, not particularly handy. Is this when you just go Patron? I think this is when you just go Patron, actually. War Song, and then Patron, and, Okay, if you're going to do this, you pop the Explosive first. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you go War Song, Patron, clear as much as possible. Yep, that appears to be what he's going for. Those Grim Patrons are gonna get crazy. Everyone get in here indeed. He's gonna make 4 more Patrons. Absolutely insane. Oh, okay. It's just the animations playing out. That was confusing. No, he did actually get that. That was actually very well played when it came to the Battle Rage there. He wanted to draw cards, but he didn't want to overdraw. So he waited until he had exactly enough Grim Patrons to draw up to 9 cards. Didn't want to draw more than 9, obviously, because then you go up to 10 and you start milling yourself. Although, I've got a feeling in this game it's not going to matter that much. Defender of Argus, interesting, but I think this game is pretty much over. There's no way of winning the game in hand right now. This is one of the reasons why I would have played Bow last turn. If he played Bow last turn, then he would be able to take his opponent down here. In fact, if he played Bow last turn and then Patron had been played, he would have won the game. Patron probably wouldn't have been played, but the point is that if he played Bow last turn, he wouldn't have played into Patron and he may have won the game. With that Loatheb as well, yeah, I think that would have gone very well. So at the moment he's just trying to figure out a way of not dying. But that's 15 damage in Patrons, and then we can see there's also a Death Bite in hand, so that's game. Well, there's a Death Bite and a Gromash and an Inner Rage. So yeah, he pretty much acknowledges that he is dead here, and is just going to let Falcon kill him. Oops. That's the problem with running multiple different setups in OBS, is sometimes when you're trying to find the next one, you go onto a rather old deck tech thumbnail. So yeah, as you may be able to tell, I actually do make all of my thumbnails in OBS as well, because you can just print screen them, and it's very quick and easy to do. So anyway, we've got Gameking going for the Mech Mage. Now, yeah, he's going for Mech Mage instead of sticking with Hunter, and then Falcon is switching into a Ramp Druid list. This looks like a very heavy on Ramp list. See, what kind of deck is this? We've got Cenarius, Kel'Thuzad, even some Sunwalkers in this list. This is crazy. Now, in theory, this should be a good matchup for the Druid, but in practice, he might just get overwhelmed. This is a reasonably strong opening, and he did top deck that piece he was missing, that 4-drop. So, he gets to clear the board, essentially, and keep hitting the face, and he's going to be able to get past the Sludge Belcher, and that's really difficult to deal with for the Druid. He needs to get to turn 7, basically, or draw an innervate, otherwise he's gonna die. And if there's a fireball, he can actually get past an Ancient War. Mad Scientist, so you can go Mad Scientist, Cogmaster, and then just take out the Sludge Belcher with a Hero Power Ping. And the Shredder. And then use the Chugga Chugga to take it out, because you want to play around Swipe to some extent. Although actually, playing around Swipe doesn't really do much, because he can Hero Power Swipe you anyway. Does mean it takes a bit of extra damage in doing so. I think you do see what the Shredder pops out though, because you don't want to get Doomsayered. Well, I mean, no one wants to get Doomsayered as an aggro deck, but the main point is that you don't want to get a bunch of cards Doomsayered. So yeah, he's just going to trade these in and then see what the Shredder gets. He might be keeping the Shredder alive. That'd be interesting. No, he is going for the basic trade here. Getting that standardized 2/2, which means he's just going to flood the board with 2 health dudes and make sure that his board is not swipeable. Now, we do happen to know that Falcon does not actually have the swipe. He did top deck a Wrath though, which allows him to Wrath the only mech on the board, reducing the Cogmaster's attack back to 1. Of course, there's always another mech. Top deck is Drake, very, very good. The Dr. Boom and the Antonidas are going to be absolutely brutal. And then he can use Mad Scientist for the Mirror Entity and the Cogmaster. And I think at that point, I don't really see a way of winning here, because the Mirror Entity is going to completely shut down the entire Druid deck. He has to play Thorazan into it, and I think that's game. I honestly don't see a way of winning from here. What he's hoping is that maybe his opponent will trade Thorazan so he gets value and Gameking does not. But in practice, what we may see actually is a Dr. Boom, trade off your spare part, or we could see a Frostbolt Loatheb. Frostbolt trade Loatheb is also a very, very powerful play here. I think that's what we're going to see actually. Play the Loatheb, he should be able to punch through any and all taunts. Although an Ancient War is a lot of mitigation, I don't think it's enough. On top of that, he does have the Antonidas and Fireballs in hand. In fact, on turn 10 he can just generate a Fireball immediately and use it. So yeah, I think this game is over. A very, very quick game, but I think this game is done. It's either going to be over this turn or the next turn, depending on draws. Oh, as we see, I think Falcon forgetting to end turn there, yeah. That does happen from time to time. We did have a few spectator issues as usual, but not in this particular game, although they probably will show up a bit later. Yeah, going for that Antonidas just to get that additional spell, you might as well. And he can trade into this with the Azure Drake and hit the face for 7, putting him to Fireball lethal range. And with that, unless he's playing Poison Seeds and Anti-Killbot, actually, what would he even win at this point? Nothing? Yeah, pretty much nothing. So, Gameking is going to equalize the series out 1-1 with a very quick Mech Mage game. You transition on to Priest against Warlock. Now, the major question is, what type of Warlock is this? It is, in fact, a handlock list. And in terms of Priests, it's a Mech Priest. Oh, we're in for a treat here. Mech Priest is strange. Oh, yes. Now, this is where some of the spectator issues started, as you may be able to tell. So, yeah, we did have some serious spectator issues in this, and I was trying to figure out what was going on here, as there are 2 floating Cogmasters that are overlapping each other. So, we're going to see in a second that I'm just going to exit out of this. Yeah, I don't know if they fixed spectator mode in the Tavern Brawl patch. I'm kind of hoping they have, because this was recorded fairly recently and it was broken. So yeah, I do tend to leave in these. I don't tend to edit these out, and the reason for it is because I just want to showcase that there are problems with spectator mode that need to be sorted. Yeah, there's quite a few. It's been like this for about a month, I want to say at this point. Is that a month? About 3 weeks? Just under a month. So yeah, we did in fact lose the first 3 turns by the looks of it. Where, by the looks of it, Gameking had an insane opening. And is that an acidic swamp ooze? That is in fact an acidic swamp ooze and a handlock. Very interesting. I guess you don't play Harrison because you don't want to overdraw. So that does make sense. So yeah, we'll have to see how this particular game goes. Now, traditionally, handlock is good against priest. Period. It's also very, very good against mech priest. As the game broke again, yeah, this did happen twice. I don't think it happened a third time, but this time I didn't figure it out as much. Was it this time? I'm pretty sure spectator mode breaks one more time when we were recording this, but I'm not exactly sure when. But yeah, we do have a Shadow Flame here. That's just going to clear the board. And next turn, Siphon Soul will deal with anything major, or Sylvanas is reduced down to 9 health already, though. That is not a healthy life total, I can say that for sure. Drawing Molten Giants are always handy. You can go Molten into Siphon Soul here. You can also go Molten Sylvanas if you want to be really risky. Molten Loatheb's a bit safer. Still a little risky, but a little bit safer as well. This prevents any crazy spell combos from just killing him. It also prevents Holy Fire from killing him, being the main one. And it stops the giant from being Shadow or Death, which means you can start using it for trading. So I think at this point you definitely want to play this anti-Q bot. Yeah, you definitely want to play this anti-Q bot because you're going to die pretty soon if you don't. I mean, you don't want to be dead to Holy Fire, basically. Vojin, interesting. Now, we are in the stage of the game where, I mean, he can use the Shadow Madness to clear this giant, but we're at the stage of the game where the handlock just starts taking over. This is what usually happens with Mech Priest in particular, but Priests in general against handlock, is that they just miss an answer to one of the giants and just get slaughtered. That's what usually happens, and I think that's what we're going to see in this particular game as well, as he has to go Shadow Madness and heal and then pass, and he's going to get a Dr. Boom dropped on his head. Now granted, there's a method of dealing with this Dr. Boom, but it's just play another Boom, and that sounds like a good idea, but there's also a Loatheb on the board. So we may see a, I think Vojin Holy Nova is a very good combination on turn 10. What he's debating is caballing one of the Boom bots, I think. But by the looks of it, we're definitely just going to see a Dr. Boom come out here. It just seems to be his only option right now, as Gameking is very far behind, and I don't know if there's a way back from this. He needs multiple Shadow or Deaths, basically. And even then, there's a Giant, there's a Boom, Loatheb, Sylvanas. There's just too many Shadow or Death targets. Yeah, definitely debating that. Must consider. The other alternative, I guess, is playing Vojin this turn and hoping you can Holy Nova next turn. That's the other alternative. I'm not sure if that's a winning ploy, though. I think you just have to rely on Dr. Boom synergy at this point. Ah, yes. This is when things broke. I wondered why this was taking so long. So, this is the Warlock 0 mana 0/0 glitch. Now, this took me longer to figure out that spectator mode had broken because, yeah, I just thought he was taking his time. As it turns out, it just disconnected me again. Yeah, this is the reason why sometimes, although you can get it to work sometimes, a lot of the time nowadays, you just have people refusing to use spectator mode. They just get people to stream it directly to them through Skype or something like that. Because spectator mode does not work. It just doesn't work. It's very, very bare bones right now, to say the least. Hoping it's going to be fixed, but until then we've got to deal with all these glitches. As we see, things have changed drastically. Now, by the looks of it, there was a Dr. Boom played and a Shrinkmeister Velen's Chosen played. Okay, so there is a very, very good Vojin into Holy Nova turn here to clear the board and get a 6-8. Very, very good use of Vojin there. Very, very underplayed card in my opinion. I'm not sure if he's powerful enough to warrant being played a lot of, but definitely good enough to test. There's that playing around Holy Fire again. Don't want to be dead to a healing spell, that's for sure. So if there's a Shadow Flame top deck, then I think he just automatically wins. But if there isn't, he may be in some trouble here. A lot of trouble. I think he actually has to... No, you can play Sylvanas with Taunt, never mind. Yeah, you can go Sylvanas and then taunt them both up again with the Defender of Argus. You can also go Twilight Drake, Taunt, Twilight Drake, and Ancient Watcher Taunt also works. Yeah, going for that Sylvanas is just safer. And then hitting the face, being very aggressive there. Although, if you have 15 health and Taunt on the board, you can afford to be aggressive, as I don't think he can clear this. I mean, he can clear the taunts. Let's see, he can clear the taunts. That's possible. He can clear both taunts, but then he's going to lose his Shredder Death Rattle, and there's going to be a 2-3 on the board. So he kind of needs this to not have 3 attack. As it does have 3 attack, it wouldn't matter anyway because there is a Dark Bomb in the hand of Falcon there, but I'm pretty sure that's game, because he has to spend the rest of his turn killing this. He can heal up, but we do see that Dark Bomb for lethal in hand. So with that, Falcon is going to take game number 3, putting him ahead in the series once again. See Mech Warper coming down a bit late to the party there. Generally Mech Warpers want to come down early, not late. But yeah, to see the closeout here with a Dark Bomb for the lethal hit. So with that, we'll move on to game number 4, as we have the Mech Priest is back for a vengeance, and the Druid that should have a good matchup against Aggro decks, but just got crushed. Now, normally, this is an extremely bad matchup for the Druid. The reason for this is because Mech Priest has a habit of making really big threats. Druid can't deal with really big threats. So as a result, the Druid is probably going to get pulverized. Now, there is a Wild Growth. We see the game trying to catch up with itself, I think, here. It's running on hyperspeed. So yeah, there is a Wild Growth instead of Wrathing. Maybe a little risky there. But yeah, we're just going to see a board state try and get out of control here, as there's probably going to be a Wrath to kill that Northshire. Yep, makes perfect sense. And then next turn, Sludge Belcher. However, as we can see in hand, there is a Velen's Chosen that is going to come down and ruin his day. So, Velen's Chosen is a very powerful buff, especially against Druid, because they simply can't deal with it. Plus 4 health is an awful lot. As we see that giant Dark Cultist 5-6 after taking a hit. It's going to be able to snaffle that Sludge Belcher, and there's also an Annoyatron if needed, or upgrade a Repair Bot. So he's just going to play an upgrade a Repair Bot. It's simply the better play because it is a 5 mana 5/5. Even without the ability, still cost effective in terms of stats. And now we're going to see a Druid get run over by the looks of it by massive amounts of mechs. So there is a decision to be made here. You can either use the Dark Cultist to trade and get the bonus, or well, I mean, you want to play Mech Warper first here because it reduces the cost of your upgraded Repair Ball. So you can use the upgraded Repair Ball and trade, giving him a 5/4. This keeps the most amount of damage on board possible. The other alternative was trading the Dark Cultist and getting the bonus. However, the problem with doing that is that you reduce the amount of damage you have overall to burst through taunts. As we're going to see a Ancient of War come down here and instantly die. So Ancient of War is going to absorb 2 5/5s basically, and then there's going to be a massive amount of damage dealt, which is just going to instantly kill him. So yeah, you have to Wrath and then Druid of the Claw. Does that even reduce the most damage? No, this does, yeah. But this is just game. He's just going to end up taking a bunch of 5/5s to the face. And as usual, when it comes to this kind of matchup, Druid just can't deal with these big, bulky Priest minions. Especially in Mech Priest, which the entire deck is basically revolving around these really big, beefy mechs that just overrun your opponent. As we see another 5/5 coming down at the end there in the form of Loatheb. And Gameking is going to tie up the series in another very quick game. With that, we actually have one of the closest best of 5s we've had in our series in a very long time, as we're up to game number 5. Now, when it comes to best of 5s, game 5 is actually not the most common sighting. No, the spectator mode bug. These are fairly common, aren't they? But anyway, so this is the last chance for the Druid to redeem itself. Currently, it has won 0 games. So it's, yeah, currently trying to catch up with itself again. Yeah, from what I could tell, this happens when the spectator mode client doesn't load fast enough. So what it does is it tries to catch up with itself, and it kind of runs on hyperspeed. We have a very, very slow start from the Hunter. The first play is going to be on turn 3. That is incredibly uncharacteristic for a Hunter. We do see that Sunwalker. Now, Sunwalkers are a pain in the neck to deal with for a Hunter. They have to kill command it, basically. So you see the Ancient Watcher come down there. Ancient Watcher, not the most useful card in the world. However, there is a Defender of Argus. So we're actually going to see an Ancient Watcher do something for a Hunter, which is very amusing. See another Shredder come down here. The logic being, if you can deal with the first one, maybe you can't deal with the second one. But there is in fact a Sunwalker to completely block this out. So we're going to see the Zombie Chow beat down, dealing probably, how much damage has that thing dealt at this point? 6 or 8? It's dealt a lot. It's definitely dealt more than it's going to heal, that's for sure. Now, in terms of the Hunter's options here, he does have Kill Command. He does have Quick Shot Kill Command. That's such a painful 2-for-1. The problem is he can't even Kill Command it because he doesn't have a Beast. So he could play Abusive and then trade. That's even worse because you have to use half of your Shredder, and also the Abusive is just going to die for free. Mana Wraith. That is hilariously obnoxious. Mana Wraith is always obnoxious, let's be honest here. Whenever it does turn up, it always limits the options of your opponent. Now, what we're probably going to see here is just kill the Mana Wraith, kill the Abusive, and then play Ancient of War. And at that point, there's currently no way of dealing with that Ancient of War. Interesting going for that hero power. I'm not sure if I would have done that. Maybe save Innervate for some sort of Kel'Thuzad combo play later on. as we do see the Haunted Creeper into Defender of Argus. We're going to see a legitimately useful Ancient Watcher out of a Shredder. Not the most seen thing in the world. However, there is a very painful silence coming down on that Haunted Creeper, getting rid of both its effect and also the Defender of Argus buff. Now, the one worry is that Ancient War has taken a lot of damage. However, there is Ascension, and unlike Ancient War, which doesn't get reanimated as a taunt, Kel'Thuzad will reanimate Sen'jin as a taunt. The reason being, of course, that Sen'jin has taunt as a permanent effect, whereas Ancient of War has it as a battle cry based buff effect from the choose one. One kill command. Are we going to see the second kill command to take this out, or are we just going to see a Houndmaster? I think we'll see Houndmaster to kill this particular Sen'jin. As this game has become a lot closer than I was expecting considering the draws. However, there are much better top decks for the Druid than the Hunter, and the Druid has taken basically no damage this game. The only damage taken has been from using hero power as removal, if you can comprehend that, on turn 7. But the Hunter does have equal board advantage right now. But that's all going to change when a Kel'Thuzad comes to stay. Which is not quite yet. There's still some draws to be had from this Ancient Allure. When you can draw with Ancient Allure against Hunter, you know you're winning. I'll put it that way. It's a rare and wonderful thing that you get to actually use your draw against a Hunter. Now he's going face here because he can set up lethal next turn if this Zombie Chow doesn't die. However, there is going to be a kill command, and Huffer is a bit painful. I guess you just trade and then go face. As you see, the Hunter must feel in a decent position right now, but there is going to be a swipe and a Sen'jin, and then that is going to be game, basically. Maybe playing that a little bit too aggressively. I don't think it's necessary at this point. You don't need to deal... It's better to conserve life than deal extra damage, but I don't think it really matters given the current situation. As that appears to be game. I don't think there's any way of stopping that. That Zombie Chow has dealt so much damage this game. Zombie Chow dealing, I think, 14 damage or more. That's crazy. As we're going to see the end of game number 5 as Falcon takes the series 3-2. Very close series. A lot of walkovers from bad matchups, actually. We did have the Priest getting not completely destroyed by the handlock, but more or less. There were a couple very close turns, but again, it just wasn't enough to punch through all those giants. Then we saw the Priest walk over the Druid, as expected. We saw the Taunt Druid destroy the Hunter, as expected. We saw the Warrior destroy the Hunter, as expected. This was kind of just normal matchups. The only one that went a little bit against expected was the Mech Mage against Druid, where that Druid deck is designed to be aggro decks, and the Mech Mage just drew just well enough to deal with all the different taunts, and it was just fast enough to get under the majority of the taunts and just punch through enough damage to win very quickly. So anyway, very interesting series. Now, before we close out, Falcon does actually stream fairly frequently, I think every day almost actually, so I'll put the link to his Twitch in the description below if you want to go check that out. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, put it in the comment section below if you just want to ask any questions. If you want to talk to me directly, you can find me on TeamSpeak. The information for that TeamSpeak is in the description. As for now, this is Jotto, signing off.